All good? Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us today. I'll introduce. We'll do some introductions. My name is Justin Montag. I'm the editor-in-chief and founder of Franchise Magazine, and I'll kick it to you guys to intro.
I'm Nico Guadalbene, founder, co-owner of Rokit.
Ari Langsdorf, co-founder of the foundation, co-owner of Rokit.
Bam, creative director, co-owner of Rokit.
Ryan Barcina, designer and co-owner of Rokit.
James Whitner, Whitaker Group, social status. I'm a year, APB, Prosper.
Great. So we're here in Charlotte at Social Status to celebrate the release of the Kyrie 5 Rocket with the crew. And we're going to have a discussion on about inspiration and accomplishment. We're going to start off with heart and finding that common ground between many passions, all inspired by the same source. So Rocket specifically channels the love for basketball and skate culture. Can we talk a little bit about the link between the two, basketball and skate? And
Well, we all grew up playing basketball and skateboarding, when we were younger, so kind of came just naturally. I think, all of us can say that, this day and age, these kids are, now doing multiple things, so I think it's perfect time that we were able to, form the brand, and now it's, taking its course, so.
And it's just a reflection of the way that we grew up, coming from those two subcultures and where they cross over on the blacktop. You outside looking in, they seem like two different cultures, but it's very individual driven. It's very sports that you like really got to kill yourself to be good at or great at or even love. So I mean, there's a crossover where the brand comes from.
great. And James, from a social status point of view, do you see a link between your consumers and customers from skate and basketball?
I think bigger than just skate and basketball. I think what's happening now with today's kid, I think it's just all a vibe. It's all about, I think the kid is just tapping into all the things that he has general interest in, right? I think the guys from Rokit done an amazing job of bringing two things that never merged, like the world of skate and basketball, as we know it, have never collided to create a thing, right? So I think if you look at the guys and who they are and where they come from, it's a perfect example of what happens when a guy that's like guys that are organically a part of our culture that skate and enter basketball and just into general cool shit can come up and make something that's meaningful to the kid. So I think what we try to do is listen to the kid and see where he's going and see the things that he's influenced by and how we can help push him to new places. So for us, Rokit was like the perfect thing at the perfect time. Hence why we're here, right?
Definitely. No, that's great. Sums it up really well. So, we saw it firsthand when we were shooting around at Pecan Center a week ago. A kid rolls up to the court on her skateboard with a basketball in her hand. And, you guys spoke some about that as well, about, growing up, skating to courts and practicing. Could you talk a little bit more about, the heart that it takes to go into each of those sports, basketball and skate, and, the practice and what it takes and how you bring that into your brand?
When I was growing up, we would play basketball in the day, and then as soon as the lights went out, we would bring out the boxes, the mini ramps, and everything started on the blacktop. So that's where it started, and that's where it ended at night. So it was like a whole routine, and then I think it just really frames a picture of a SoCal lifestyle that I grew up in. But I think every kid nowadays, like James was saying, everything's mixed. You know what I mean? You get inspiration, you get access to information. Everything moves so fast, so you get these amalgamations of different mixes of cultures together, and I think Rokit really represents that and represents the kid today, not the kid of the past. So that's kind of what we do.
That's great. And so can you share a little bit about how that passion and how that heart played into this collaboration with Rokit and the Kyrie 5?
Let's see. It kind of all happened. I used to work at Undefeated, so I was working there, and I met Tony Grosso, head of Nike basketball, and we were just chopping it up a couple years ago, and he's just seeing how the brand's doing and everything, and then fast forward now, everything kind of happened organically. Kyrie loves basketball, you know, and also skateboarding, of course. And he also skates a little bit too, and so the whole brand kind of came together because he loves both, you know, skateboarding and basketball. And yeah.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about passion and heart. I mean, you watch the way Kyrie plays, and he lays it all down on the court. You know what I mean? Like, he bleeds for his craft in the same way that we do, not only with the brand, but with like the cultures that we're involved in, basketball and skateboarding and whatnot, and among other things.
I think that further what they're saying too, you know, Kyrie's the embodiment of trial and error, of working hard, of mastering different crafts, of not to be corny, but owning his game, right? Like developing his shot, drive to the hoop one season, next season he's got a killer jumper. That's kind of what we try to do every day, right? So every collaboration, every season, we try to supersede the previous one. We try to perfect our craft. We try to become champions in what we're doing. And I think the crossover of Kyrie's natural inclination to like skateboarding, to be an athlete that doesn't give up, that left playing with one of the best players in the world to go make his own mark and build his own history and lineage, kind of falls perfectly in line with what we're doing, and having the opportunity to work with whom we consider to be, you know, the best brand in existence, which is Nike, and have our name on a shoe with arguably, you know, top 3 player in the NBA is kind of like stars aligning, dream come true type of thing. So I think what ultimately led to it is timing and placement, right? Right time, right place. And I think what makes it dope is the response from the consumer, right? The amount of energy that it's created and the amount of noise that it's created, because ultimately we can all do whatever we love to do, but if there's no consumption for it and you're not speaking to anyone, you're making something for nothing. And I think we're blessed to have an audience that's engaged in what we're doing, what James is doing, what Nike's doing, and they're able to consume what we're creating both physically and mentally. And that kind of ties everything together and allows something like this to happen and be so impactful.
And then from the outside looking in, when you start talking about heart, right?
Yeah.
And like you just look at the people at the table, I think it's a different struggle and a different journey that we work through, right? Like you're talking about these everybody at this table is here for a reason, right? These guys didn't just appear out of anywhere, right? Everybody had to scratch, claw, scrape, hustle to get where they're at. Like, you know what I'm saying? I met Nico when he was still in the grind, right? Bam and these guys, they've been doing this shit for 20 years. Like, these is dudes that's been in this hustle, right? So when you start talking about the heart that goes into collaboration, like we put our life in the line for this shit. So these dudes are clawing, scraping to create, to connect and make people understand. Like right now in this moment, the world understands it connects, right? But there were moments when nobody gave a fuck what y'all was talking about.
For sure.
Out later, right?
Right.
But now so just to talk about and speak about the heart component, I think it takes an incredible amount of heart to get here. You got to applaud these guys, and that's what I think makes Nike special as a brand, because they come in and they give us a platform to help put our voice on, right? Then you add a Kyrie into the mix of it, and consumer, and it's all natural, and it just feels good.
That's great. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all that. That's definitely sums it up. Let's talk a bit about the colorway and what inspired the color of the shoe. It pops so much in photos, in person, and I can't wait to see it on court. So could you talk a little bit about the colors that you put into the shoe?
I mean, we just used the brightest red, green, and blue just to highlight and reflect Kyrie's style of play. You know, like, he's such a ill performer on the court, and so like we overlaid it on like natural colors to like pop certain elements, like the green sole and like the laces and the backwards swoosh, to highlight, you know, his performance. And the shoe is a performance shoe.
I mean, the colors kind of represent, you know, the juxtaposition between skateboarding and basketball. You got the lime green, which is pretty prevalent in the punk scene, you know, punk tees and whatnot. Then you got the hints of like magenta red-ish in there, so it's like the rebel. So it's, you know, it's the mix of both worlds putting it together just through color. Because with Rokit, it's not just a logo. It's a concept. You know what I mean? So we're selling a concept. It's louder than just a graphic. So when you see the color, you kind of identify from the get.
To further on what Bam said too, you know, you're working with an asset that's a style guy, right? Kyrie's a fly dude. So performance basketball might not be the shoe that kids are running out to wear with jeans or to the club or whatever right now. But being that you're making a product for a fly guy that has a fly audience, we wanted to make something that had a style element to it. Hence, part of the backward swoosh, some of the use of color, the multitude of laces, the overlays of material was to help add a fashion element to shoes that in today's environment are considered strictly for the court. You know, we feel like we created something that is, you know, blacktop and cement, literally.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is it's honest. You know, it's just an honest perspective from us. You know, we're not trying to create product for anyone but ourselves, and it's just selling it. You know what I mean? So.
It's a great shoe. So I want to shift the conversation now to talk about hustle. And as entrepreneurs, can you share first what first inspired you to grow a business in your community? And I'll kick that off to you, Ari.
I think, you know, from a creative standpoint, right, Rokit, Nico, and Bam are really the ones that ideated and conceptualized and brought to life this Southern California vibe and a nod to NorCal, because that's where Nico grew up. So they are definitely better to talk about the intrinsic value of why they did it in Southern California. I can say for us as a brand to be a pillar in Los Angeles and to engage in our community, to Bam's point earlier, this whole brand is about not selling clothes or selling our logo, but creating a narrative with the community. So we live and die by the youth. You know, Bam and myself are a little older. Nico and Ryan aren't in their 20s anymore. We're not living and dying in the streets, but that is like the pulse of everything we do. And those kids and what they bring to the table allow us all to earn a living, to be happy every day and come to work and have something to do. So I guess the reason you cultivate in your community is so you have a reason to be, right? Because to the earlier point, if there's no one consuming your thoughts, then you're just making things for yourself in a bubble somewhere. And our whole drive is engagement, youth, drive them, excite them, and also really show them, you know, James is a living, breathing example of that. Show them that, like, hey, a dream on a pad can end up in Social Status or Dover Street Market or Kith or Concepts. And, you know, between James, myself, Nico, Ryan, Bam, we're all real life examples of that. You know, I should be selling insurance somewhere, not sitting at this table right now having this conversation with you, talking about a Nike shoe that we helped create. So I think really that's the narrative. It's we are inspired by one another and by those around us consistently, and selling that inspiration to the youth in a very organic and authentic way is ultimately the goal, right? We want to inspire the next generation.
That's great. And James, I'll throw this next one to you. I feel like it touches your space the best. How important is it to be in contact directly with the community who support your business?
You can't help inform or lead anyone unless you're listening, right? Like the space we're sitting in is created as a space for us to be able to listen and engage. Me and Nico had that conversation coming in, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. I think what James is doing as far as having a space where these kids feel like they can come and talk to him and be one-on-one, you know, and he's like the owner, of course, so they feel like, man, if I want to, you know, have a conversation, I can just go and talk to him. It's not like, oh, he's not too far away, you know what I mean? And this space right here is dope because, you know, you can work here, you know what I mean? You can come and just hang out, you can just chill, just, you know, soak up game. And, you know, I think now, you know, this space will give all these kids opportunity to do that, so.
It's important for people to have leaders. Like when we grow up, we call them OGs. Everybody needs OGs. Everybody needs some leaders, somebody to go in and help them navigate around the landmines, right? Because we started this business and there wasn't much direction, right? There wasn't, to Ari's point, like there wasn't a map. There isn't a journey, right?
And there still isn't.
There still isn't. We make this up as we go, right? But my goal for the people who come behind me is I gotta leave them a map. Right? I can't have the youngins coming around as, yo, if you walk out the door and go right, you're gonna get your head blew off. But if you rock out the door and go left and then make two rights, you'll be all right, right? I had to watch a lot of people get their head blew off to know not to go right. I had to learn to go left. The kid the kids shouldn't have to go through that experience, right? It's our job to listen to them, build in them, because ultimately that's what's going to make this thing of ours live for generations beyond us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does. And so can you bring us into the process of hustling through difficulty and failure and how that helps you achieve greatness?
I mean, for me, in order to even going into basketball, right?
Yeah.
In order to win, you got to learn how to lose, right? Like in a game of basketball, you play ball, right? You get on the court with somebody who can really play. The first thing they're gonna try to do is take your left away, right? And then they bury you because you can only play off your right hand, right? So through that loss, hopefully, right, what you do is you go establish a left hand, right? So for me, I took a lot of losses, right? And I had to learn life the hard way. And some of it was, things out of my control. But I think for me, it helped build a character and a work ethic that allows us to do some of the things we do today. Like obviously followed by, like, if you look around at my team, like, I've been able to surround myself by a team that it's not people that's just like me. We come from all different parts of walks of life, all different parts of the world. But we share the same mentality, the same energy. We all want to get it. We all want to win, and we all laser sharp focused on that, right? So it's easier to overcome some of those losses when like, obviously, I've been able to build, thank God, and now get people around me who want to build and who want to win, and I can help them learn from their losses, and we can keep winning, if that answers the question.
Yeah, no, it does. It definitely does. So for the Rocket team, how much are you motivated to set examples for the next generation?
I think that's the point in what we do, right? So from Rocket to some of the other businesses we're involved with, I think some of our greatest achievements are to see where the team that started with us ends up. Obviously, our hope is that everyone that comes within our circle stays with us forever, but we live in a world and a business specifically that's not the case. So I think our greatest achievements are when we see the teams that came up under us end up at Dover Street Market, end up at Nike, end up at competitors end up with their own brands, agencies, and movements behind them. And I think that is the ultimate feather in the cap, because you were part, to James's point, of giving them that roadmap, giving them a foundation to build upon, letting them kind of learn from your mistakes, because as an entrepreneur, I've been doing this 18 years, I make mistakes every day still and learn from them. And then giving them things to be inspired by. Like James said earlier, we were talking about this last night, like we're all blessed to have friendships and a network around us that help inspire one another. So when you talked about success, like to me, that's a theory, right? One success might not be someone else's success.
Sure.
Someone might decide success of owning a Rolex. Another person might define success as, raising a child. It's all up to us what we define. And I think that the second you get complacent and believe you're successful, it's over.
Yeah,
So if you don't constantly want to inspire and build and grow, then it's over for you. And some people are comfortable with that. I think that we're blessed to be surrounded by like-minded individuals where, there's a line from Wall Street too, like, what's your number? More. So, and more isn't money, more is brand, more is path, more is youth, more is legacy, more is the community, more is 5 more Nike shoes, right? It's not cash. It's the definition should mean something more than that. And I think even for us, that's part of our process with how we interact with our audience, right? Like, we're not out there flashing cars and diamonds. It's about things much deeper and greater than that.
That's great.
Very well said, homie.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thanks so much for sharing your guys' stories with us today. I really appreciate it. It was really cool to hear about, the hustle, the greatness, the struggles, and how you guys have achieved what you have. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.